I had built what I thought was an unshakable foundation with Natalie over our 10 years of marriage. Every brick carefully laid with trust, honesty, and commitment. Andrea had been part of Natalie's life since college but recently moved to Seattle after her divorce. I noticed how her eyes lingered when she looked at me, how her hand would brush mine during conversations at dinner. That fateful night when Natalie was away on business changed everything. I never imagined someone I welcomed into our home would not only violate my trust, but twist the truth to destroy what took a decade to build. Before I continue this story, where are you watching from? Hit the like button and subscribe if you have ever had your trust betrayed by someone close to you. Life in Seattle with Natalie had been everything I dreamed of when we exchanged vows 10 years ago. Our downtown apartment overlooked Elliott Bay, where we would watch ferries glide across the water during morning coffee. As a software engineer at a growing tech company, I enjoyed the stability that allowed Natalie to pursue her passion as a marketing director for a local startup. We complemented each other perfectly. Her creative spirit balanced my analytical mind. We had just celebrated our 10th anniversary with a weekend getaway to the San Juan Islands. Natalie surprised me with matching watches engraved with our wedding date. I gave her a leather-bound photo album documenting our decade together. We spent hours reminiscing about our journey while mapping out our future. A house in the suburbs with enough yard space for children to play. After years of building our careers, we were finally ready to start a family. Everything felt right. Andrea entered our lives more prominently about 7 months ago. Natalie mentioned her college roommate was moving to Seattle after finalizing her divorce from a controlling husband. I remembered meeting Andrea briefly at our wedding, but she had lived on the East Coast for years. Natalie was thrilled to reconnect with her old friend and immediately offered to help her settle in. Within weeks, Andrea landed a position in Natalie's marketing department. I was genuinely happy for both of them. At first, Andrea seemed like a welcome addition to our social circle. She brought an energetic presence to our dinner parties, often arriving with expensive wine and entertaining stories. She complimented my cooking and laughed at my terrible jokes. Sunday brunches and hiking trips through the Cascade Mountains became regular activities. I appreciated how Andrea's presence made Natalie beam with joy as they rekindled their friendship. The subtle shift happened around the 3-month mark. Andrea began texting me directly, ostensibly seeking advice on birthday gifts for Natalie. The messages came at odd hours. 10 at night, or 6 in the morning. What jewelry style does Natalie prefer? Followed by unrelated questions about my day or weekend plans. During dinner conversations, her foot would occasionally brush against mine under the table. When passing dishes, her fingers would linger against mine longer than necessary. Andrea frequently positioned herself next to me on the couch during movie nights, gradually reducing the space between us. Her eyes would hold mine a beat too long when we spoke. When describing her failed marriage, she would emphasize how her ex-husband never understood her needs while maintaining eye contact with me. Red wine became her signature hostess gift, and she always ensured my glass remained full. The company board removed him last week. Your plan to take control of my business failed before you even filed for divorce. Jessica's carefully constructed facade crumbled. Tears of frustration, not remorse, streamed down her face as she realized her schemes had backfired completely. She attempted to switch tactics, claiming she still loved me, and that Marcus had manipulated her. When that did not work, she turned to threats and accusations. You will still lose everything, she hissed. One Thursday evening, while preparing dinner together, I decided to voice my concerns to Natalie. We stood side by side chopping vegetables when I casually mentioned that Andrea seemed to be texting me more frequently lately. She just values your opinion, honey. Natalie responded, sliding diced bell peppers into a bowl. Andrea says, you give better advice than most of her girlfriends. I think there might be more to it, I said carefully. Some of her comments make me uncomfortable. Natalie put down her knife and looked at me with amusement. Brant, are you suggesting Andrea is hitting on you? She laughed, shaking her head. Trust me, you are completely misreading her. Andrea is just naturally affectionate with everyone. I know what flirting looks like, Nat. Andrea is not that type of person. Natalie insisted, her tone growing defensive. She would never cross that line, especially with my husband. She respects our marriage too much. I wanted to press further, but the certainty in Natalie's voice made me question my own perceptions. Had I misinterpreted friendly gestures? Was I overreacting to innocent interactions? I trusted Natalie's judgment. She had known Andrea for 15 years. Maybe you are right, I conceded. I just wanted to mention it. Thank you for being honest, Natalie softened. But I promise there is nothing to worry about. The conversation ended there, but the uneasiness persisted. I decided to create some distance between Andrea and myself, responding to texts with delayed brief answers, and positioning myself across the room during gatherings. I hoped the subtle message would be received without creating tension in Natalie's valued friendship. The catalyst came when Natalie announced an unexpected 3-day business trip to San Francisco. A major client requested an emergency meeting that required her physical presence. As she packed her suitcase, Natalie mentioned casually, "I invited Andrea to come over for dinner tomorrow night. I hate the thought of you eating alone." My stomach tightened. "That is not necessary. I will be fine." She already accepted Natalie, zipped her suitcase closed. "Besides, she is bringing that Cabernet you liked from the winery in Woodinville." Before I could object further, my phone chimed with a text from Andrea. "Looking forward to dinner tomorrow. Just us. How fun. I will bring wine. Any preference on time?" Looking at Natalie's expectant expression, I reluctantly typed back, "7 works. Thanks." Andrea arrived at 7:30 wearing a black dress that clung to her figure and revealed more skin than appropriate for a casual dinner between friends. Her perfume, something musky and overwhelming, filled the entryway as she handed me a paper bag containing not one, but 2 bottles of wine. One for dinner and one for after. She winked, stepping past me into the apartment. "Natalie said you made your famous lasagna." I led her to the kitchen where dinner was almost ready. I had deliberately chosen a meal that required minimal attention so we could eat quickly without lingering over preparation. The table was already set, 3 placemats out of habit, though I quickly removed the third before Andrea noticed. "Just water for me tonight," I said when Andrea reached for the corkscrew in the drawer. "Early meeting tomorrow." "Oh, come on, 1 glass will not kill you," she insisted, expertly opening the first bottle. "Besides, Natalie told me to make sure you relaxed while she was gone." Doctor's orders. To avoid seeming rude, I accepted half a glass while serving the food. Andrea positioned herself adjacent, rather than across from me, her knee occasionally brushing mine under the table. I steered conversation towards safe topics. Natalie's project in San Francisco, the upcoming company picnic, a new hiking trail we had discovered. Andrea countered each attempt by redirecting to more personal subjects. How was our marriage handling the pressure of potential parenthood? Did we still have date nights? Was Natalie away often? Each question felt like a probe for vulnerabilities. I answered vaguely while noticing Andrea continually refilling my wine glass when I was not looking. By the time we finished eating, I felt unusually lightheaded despite having less than 2 glasses. The room seemed slightly tilted, my reactions delayed. Andrea suggested moving to the living room while I cleared the table, insisting on helping despite my protests. In the kitchen, she stood unnecessarily close, her arm pressing against mine as we loaded the dishwasher. "You know, Brant," she said softly, "I have always thought you and Natalie had the perfect marriage. But sometimes I wonder if you ever feel something is missing." I stepped away, suddenly aware of how warm the room felt. "Nothing is missing. I should probably call a rideshare for you. It is getting late." "Is 9:30 really that late?" Andrea pouted, moving closer. "We have not even opened the second bottle." Her hand touched my arm, fingers tracing a pattern on my skin. "Besides, do you not want to know what I think is missing in your perfect life?" I moved toward the living room, hoping to create distance. "Andrea, I think you should go home now. Let me call you an Uber." She followed suddenly directly behind me. When I turned, she was inches away, her expression transformed into something predatory. Before I could react, Andrea lunged forward, pressing her body against mine and attempting to kiss me. Her hands gripped my shoulders, then moved downward. I felt frozen for a split second before firmly grasping her upper arms and physically moving her away. "Stop. This is completely inappropriate," I stated firmly, putting the coffee table between us. "I love Natalie. I would never betray her, especially not with her friend." Andrea's face contorted with anger, the rejection triggering an immediate transformation. "Do not act like you have not been flirting with me for months," she hissed. "I saw how you looked at me. How you always managed to sit near me." "That never happened," I responded, stunned by the accusation. "I have been trying to avoid you because your behavior made me uncomfortable." Her laugh was cold, calculating. "You really think Natalie will believe that? Who do you think she will trust? Her husband of 10 years or her best friend since college?" Her eyes narrowed. "Men like you are all the same. You want the thrill until it becomes inconvenient. You need to leave. Now." I pulled out my phone to call a car. Andrea grabbed her purse, face flushed with anger. "You will regret rejecting me, Brant. Natalie will never believe your version of tonight." After she left, I locked the door and immediately tried calling Natalie, hands shaking slightly. The call went to voicemail. I left a message trying to sound calm. "Hey, call me when you can. Something happened with Andrea that we need to discuss. Love you." A text response came 20 minutes later, "In dinner with clients. Everything okay? Will call when back at hotel." I sent back, "Yes, but call when you can. Important." Sleep proved impossible that night. I replayed the evening, repeatedly analyzing every interaction for anything I might have said or done to encourage Andrea's behavior. The strange dizziness worried me. Had she put something in my drink? The implications of her threat echoed in my mind. "Natalie will never believe your version." At 6:15 the next morning, my phone rang. Natalie's face appeared on the screen. "Brant, what the hell?" Her voice trembled with emotion. "Andrea just called me hysterical. She said you tried to force yourself on her last night, that she had to physically fight you off." "What is going on?" My blood ran cold. "That is absolutely false. The exact opposite happened. She came on to me, and when I rejected her, she threatened me. She sent photos of bruises on her arms, Brant. She said you grabbed her when she tried to leave. I moved her away when she tried to kiss me. I never hurt her." My mind raced, reconstructing the moment I had grasped her arms to create distance between us. Those marks must be self-inflicted or manipulated somehow. Why would Andrea lie about something like this? Natalie's voice had hardened, because she was rejected and humiliated. "I tried to call you immediately after she left." "I am changing my flight," Natalie said flatly. "I will be home by noon. We need to talk about this in person." The line went dead before I could respond. I sat on the edge of the bed, head in hands, as the full weight of the situation descended. Then a realization struck me. Our new security system. We had installed cameras in the common areas after a break-in at a neighboring apartment 3 months ago. The living room and kitchen would have captured everything. I rushed to my laptop and accessed the security app. The footage from the previous night was there, crisp clear with audio. I watched the entire evening unfold exactly as I remembered. Andrea pouring something into my wine when I turned to check the oven. Her increasingly aggressive flirtation. The moment she lunged at me, and my measured response to remove her without excessive force. Her vindictive threat before leaving. I downloaded the footage and sent a copy to my personal email as backup. Then I texted Natalie. "Before we talk, please check the security camera footage from last night. I have sent the file to your email." For 24 hours, silence stretched between us. Natalie returned home as planned, but went directly to her sister's apartment instead. My calls went unanswered. Finally, a text arrived. I watched the video. "Coming home now." When Natalie walked through the door, her eyes were swollen from crying. She stood awkwardly in our living room. The same space where Andrea had attempted to destroy our marriage the night before. "I owe you an apology," she began, voice barely above a whisper. "I should have trusted you from the beginning." "You believed her immediately," I said, the hurt evident in my voice. 10 years together, and you assumed I was capable of something so despicable. She has been my friend for almost 20 years, Natalie countered defensively. She was crying, sent photos of bruises. It seemed so real, and our relationship is just what? A convenient arrangement, easily discarded when tested. The words came out harsher than intended, but the wound was still fresh. You did not even consider my side. That is not fair, Natalie's eyes flashed. I was halfway across the country, woken up by my hysterical friend. I did not know what to think. You should have thought that maybe your husband deserved the benefit of the doubt. Natalie sank onto the couch, shoulders slumped. You are right. I failed you, and I am sorry. I wanted to embrace her to move past this immediately, but something held me back. Have you spoken to Andrea since watching the video? Natalie nodded. She claimed you edited the footage, that you were technologically savvy enough to manipulate it. Her voice dropped. For a moment, I wondered if that was possible. The admission hit like a physical blow. You still doubted me even with video evidence. Just for a moment, Natalie insisted. But then I remembered you can barely use Instagram filters. The attempt at humor fell flat between us. I confronted her again, Natalie continued. She became defensive, started changing details of her story. When I pressed harder, she hung up. I should have felt vindicated, but instead, exhaustion washed over me. What happens now? We move forward. Natalie reached for my hand. I will cut Andrea out of my life completely. It might not be that simple, I said, pulling out my phone to show Natalie a series of text messages. Andrea has been busy. She told Kelsey and Mark that I made inappropriate advances toward her. Mark canceled our basketball game tomorrow. Natalie paled. She is trying to poison our friend group against you. Against us, I corrected. This affects both our reputations. Over the next week, the situation deteriorated further. Half of our social circle stopped responding to invitations. Andrea had apparently been strategic in choosing which friends to contact, primarily those who knew her longer than they knew me. Rumors circulated that the security footage was edited or taken out of context. The breaking point came when I discovered Natalie was still exchanging texts with Andrea. I found the messages accidentally while using Natalie's phone to order dinner when mine was charging. A string of sympathetic responses to Andrea's continued manipulation. You are still talking to her, I confronted Natalie, disbelief coloring my voice. After everything she did, it is complicated, Natalie defended. 20 years of friendship is hard to just sever completely. She tried to destroy our marriage. She drugged me. She accused me of assault. What part of that is complicated? Natalie looked away. I know she did something terrible, but part of me wonders if she is having some kind of breakdown. Her divorce was really messy. And stop making excuses for her, I interrupted. She is not a victim here. I know that Natalie insisted, though her tone lacked conviction. I just think cutting her off completely without understanding why she did this seems harsh. Harsh, I echoed incredulously. What would you call what she did to me? To us. Silence stretched between us until Natalie whispered. Jessica invited me to join her and Andrea at her lake house this weekend. To talk things through. The revelation felt like ice water in my veins. You are planning a getaway with the woman who tried to destroy our marriage. To console her after she failed to seduce your husband. Not a getaway. Natalie backpedaled. Just a chance to get closure, and you need to choose. I said the words, forming a line I never thought I would draw. Her or us. Because I cannot stay in a marriage where my partner sympathizes with someone who harmed me so deliberately. The ultimatum hung in the air between us, reshaping our relationship in ways I never imagined necessary. For the first time in our marriage, I had drawn an uncrossable boundary. The hurt in Natalie's eyes reflected my own pain, but I remained firm. This was no longer about forgiveness. It was about self-preservation. You cannot ask me to choose between my husband and a friendship that spans 2 decades. Natalie finally responded. Andrea already forced that choice, I countered. I am just asking you to acknowledge it. That evening, I contacted a lawyer friend who specialized in defamation cases. After reviewing the security footage, he confirmed I had strong grounds for legal action against Andrea, not only for defamation but potentially for assault and drugging my drink. The prospect of a lawsuit felt extreme but necessary to protect my reputation and possibly prevent Andrea from targeting someone else in the future. With the lawyer's guidance, I drafted cease and desist letters to send to Andrea if the situation escalated further. I documented every text, email, and social media post related to the incident. The methodical approach provided a sense of control amidst the chaos Andrea had created. Parallel to the legal preparations, I reached out to several trusted friends with the truth. I did not share the video widely, but invited 3 close friends to view the footage in our home. Their expressions of shock and subsequent support fortified my resolve. These people, who had known both Natalie and me for years, became crucial allies in countering Andrea's narrative. Through one of these conversations, a disturbing pattern emerged. Marcus, whose wife Kim had been friends with Andrea in college, revealed that Andrea had made similar accusations against Kim's brother 2 years ago. The situation had been quietly resolved when other witnesses contradicted Andrea's version of events. This information changed everything. When I presented this discovery to Natalie, the color drained from her face. "Kim never mentioned this to me," she whispered. "Because Andrea convinced Kim to keep it quiet," I explained. "Just like she is trying to isolate you from me now." Something shifted in Natalie's expression, the final piece clicking into place. She pulled out her phone and called Jessica, canceling the lake house weekend. Then she blocked Andrea's number while I watched. The relief was palpable, but the damage to our trust remained a tangible presence between us. 3 weeks after the incident, the situation reached its natural conclusion when Andrea overplayed her hand. At a birthday dinner for a mutual friend, she attempted to spread her narrative to Jessica's husband Paul, unaware that Paul had already seen the security footage. Paul confronted her publicly, asking pointed questions about details that contradicted the video evidence. Cornered and exposed, Andrea fled the restaurant. The following day, Andrea resigned from Natalie's company and deleted her social media accounts. Through mutual acquaintances, we learned she was moving back east. The immediate threat had passed, but the aftermath remained. Natalie's apology came in stages, first with words, then with actions. She sent personal messages to friends who had been misinformed, directly addressing the false accusations against me. She suggested couples therapy to rebuild our fractured foundation. Most significantly, she acknowledged that her initial disbelief had caused damage that could not be easily undone. "I failed the most important test of our marriage," she admitted one night, as we sat on our balcony watching the sunset over Puget Sound. "I chose loyalty to a friend over faith in my husband." "We both failed in some ways," I conceded. "I noticed Andrea's inappropriate behavior months ago but downplayed it when you dismissed my concerns. I should have trusted my instincts and been more direct." Rebuilding took time. We established new boundaries around friendships and agreed that concerns raised by either of us would be taken seriously. The security cameras that had saved our marriage remained active, a modern safeguard against deception in an increasingly complicated social landscape. 6 months after the incident, we attended a dinner party where someone asked about Andrea. Instead of revisiting the painful details, Natalie simply said, "We discovered she was not who we thought she was," and changed the subject. The simple statement represented enormous growth, acknowledging the truth without allowing Andrea to continue dominating our narrative. The most valuable lesson from this ordeal was learning to trust myself even when others doubt me. When Andrea first began crossing boundaries, I questioned my own perceptions because Natalie dismissed them. I will never again silence my internal warning system for the sake of someone else's comfort, even someone I love. I also gained profound appreciation for tangible evidence in a world where accusations can destroy lives overnight. Without those security cameras, my reputation and marriage might have been irreparably damaged by a vindictive lie. Technology provided objectivity where human perception failed. Natalie and I eventually moved forward with our plans to buy a house in the suburbs. The extra bedroom remains empty for now, but the possibility it represents feels more precious after nearly losing everything. Trust once fractured never reforms exactly as it was. But sometimes, the repaired version proves stronger, more intentional than the original. For those watching who have faced false accusations or betrayal from trusted friends, how did you rebuild afterward? The path to healing is rarely straightforward, and I would value hearing your experiences. Please share in the comments below, and if this story resonated with you, consider subscribing and hitting the like button. Your support helps me continue sharing these difficult life lessons. Remember, in relationships, trust twice, but verify once. Wisdom I wish I had embraced sooner. Thank you for listening, and may your own relationships be built on honest foundations that withstand even the most determined attacks.